a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again. But now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. Is the second coming that of Jesus Christ? Certainly not. The advent is that of a shape. That is the word used by the poet. Shape means outline, form, body, physique, profile. And the shape is that of a strange creature which has the body of a lion body, and the head of a man. This strange creature, which is partly lion and partly man, is what Greek mythology calls the Sphinx. One is here reminded of the great Sphinx of Giza in Egypt. The Sphinx, according to Greek mythology, is a creature which is half human and half lion. The gaze of the Sphinx, the look of the Sphinx is blank and pitiless like the sun. You should not forget that we are now in a desert, and the sun is the desert sun. Needless to say, it is blank and pitiless. The animal is moving slowly and lazily on its obviously huge thighs. The birds are indignant. The desert birds are angry, and they are flying in circles around this strange animal, throwing moving shadows on the desert sands. The darkness drops again. It becomes dark again. The vision comes to an end. But the speaker is now wiser than he had been before he had the vision. The speaker has now a more profound insight into the history of the last 2,000 years. The speaker looks upon the previous 2,000 years, the era of the Christian religion, which began with the rocking of the cradle of Jesus in Bethlehem, as stony sleep. According to the speaker, the 2,000-year-long Christian period was stony sleep. Stony means unsympathetic, insensitive, unkind, petrifying. Sleep stands for stagnation. W.B.Yeats was not a great admirer of Christianity, and he now realizes that the last 2000 years have been an age of petrifying spiritual stagnation. This age of petrifying spiritual stagnation began with a rocking of the cradle of Jesus in Bethlehem. The speaker further adds that the climax of this 2000-year-long period of petrifying spiritual stagnation is the nightmare that we are experiencing now. The world is now going through a nightmare. War, revolution, bloodshed, disorder, death, devastation. This nightmare is the final chapter of and the climactic conclusion of the 20 centuries of stony sleep that has been Christianity. But what about the second coming? If the second coming is not of Christ, then whose coming will it be? The poet is not sure. And hence, instead of concluding the poem with a categorical statement, the poet poses a question that continues to echo down the decades. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. What a powerful question. A question that continues to haunt us generation after generation. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. The rough beast in the second coming is easily the most controversial animal in 20th century English poetry. The poet does not know much about it, nor do the readers. All we know is that it's a rough beast, and that it is slouching, moving slowly, moving lazily towards Bethlehem. Bethlehem, of course, is the birthplace of Jesus, and hence an ironically appropriate town for the rough beast to use as its birthplace. Jesus was born in Bethlehem. The rough beast will also be born in Bethlehem. And it is slouching, it is moving slowly, it is moving lazily, so that it can be born there. What is this rough beast? Of course, nobody can be sure. One, the rough beast can be Antichrist, the personal opponent of Christ, who stands for everything which is against what Christ stood for. That is the first reading. The rough beast is Antichrist. 2. The rough beast could be a symbol for the Second World War, which the poet, using his intuition, feels that is in the making. The First World War has come to an end, and the Great War has left behind a devastated world. But that is not the complete story. The poet feels that another war, a greater war than the Great War, a bloodier war than the Great War, a more devastating war than the Great War is in the making. And the rough beast could be a symbol for that war. 3. The rough beast could prophetically symbolize dictators like Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, Stalin, who rode roughshod over Europe in the years between the two world wars. 4. The rough beast could be a symbol for communism, the ideology and the praxis that conservatives like W.B.Yeats feared and dreaded. And W.B.Yeats was one of those who believed that the communists were trying to take over the world, whatever it be. The rough beast is a symbolism for the ultimate disaster that can befall Western civilization. Balachandra Rajan explains that the rough beast is the specific executioner of Western civilization. I don't know whether you have noticed it, but there seems to be a problem with the closure of the poem. I shall read the lines yet again. And what rough beast its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born. The rough beast is slouching, moving slowly, lazily towards Bethlehem to be born. But the rough beast is already born. How can the rough beast, which already exists, which is already born, go to Bethlehem to be born? This issue was raised by the American scholar Edward Prophet, who was then a full professor in Manhattan College, New York, and who incidentally passed away in 2012. Through his paper in the spring 1991 issue of The Explicator, the Journal of Explicatory Criticism, published from Washington, D.C. This is certainly a valid question. The rough beast is already born. How can it go to Bethlehem to be born? Edward Prophet put forward a very original thesis through his paper. He claimed that there are two beasts in the poem. The mother beast and the baby beast. The mother beast is going to Bethlehem in order to give birth to the baby beast. And the baby beast is slouching in utero, in the fetal position, and thus going to Bethlehem in the womb of the mother beast in order to be born. Somebody from India. I don't want to reveal his name because I'm a modest person. Wrote a rejoinder to the paper of Edward Prophet in the same journal, The Explicator, pointing out that the sex of the rough beast is unmistakably male. It has a lion body and the head of a man. It has a lion body, not a lioness body. It has the head of a man, not the head of a woman. Thus the sex of the rough beast is male. And being a male beast, the rough beast is simply incapable of giving birth. If you analyze and evaluate the second stanza of the second coming meticulously, you will find that there are no two beasts in the second coming. What the speaker sees first is only an image. The poet does not say that it's a real animal. What the speaker sees is a personal preview, is an image which troubles his sight, which is visible only to him, which can be seen by him and him alone. So to say that there are two beasts in the poem is to create unnecessary confusion. The poet sees a vision of the shape of things to come. But it's only a vision, it's only a preview, and the poet does not have a very clear picture, a very detailed idea of what is going to happen. The poet wonders what the rough beast will actually be like. The rough beast will be born in Bethlehem, which is ironically appropriate because it is the birthplace of Jesus Christ. The last line of the poem need not be interpreted too literally. Having seen the beast in his vision, having had a preview of the image of the beast, the poet understands that slouching, moving lazily, moving slowly, is the movement most appropriate to this huge creature. And so, the poet imagines that the rough beast is slouching towards Bethlehem to be born. All that the poet wants to say is that the rough beast will be born in Bethlehem. And the closure of the poem should not be read too literally. After all, it's a poem. It's not a scientific paper.